So I love the magnets. And they go all the way down the wall.
All the way. They need to fill up one more block here, but I had my fridge on this side, so that's why I wasn't able to see it before.
Will you just tilt the camera one more time to see? I want to see the extent of them going to your, how many magnets we're actually talking about.
We have 12 feet of magnets. 12 feet by 1 foot of magnets. And I only really started collecting magnets in 2000 and maybe 9. But I had been traveling already from 2002, actually.
Can we send you magnets? So if I find random magnets around the world, I'll get points if I send them to you.
You would. Well, I kind of want to get magnets from places I've been to. So sometimes I've asked people if, like, I think Seattle, I don't have a magnet from Seattle, despite having come to Seattle many times because I didn't collect magnets back then. Right. Okay. So I kind of would like to have been there. But if you see something really beautiful, like I have this one that a friend of mine brought me from Costa Rica, and it's a gorgeous magnet. And I haven't been there, but I'll take the magnet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, was this a life transition when you discovered that you liked collecting magnets and were going to put them on your wall?
Was this no, it was a matter of convenience, because I travel with a very, very, very small luggage, and my luggage has gotten smaller in the past 10 years. So I used to travel with the regular carry-on size, the 20-inch suitcase. And then I don't remember what it was, but I had to go to some smaller trip, and I got one of those they're like the overnight laptop carry-on suitcases. And that has now been my travel suitcase for 10 years. Like, it doesn't matter how long I travel for, whether it's 3 days or a whole month, I'll travel only with that.
Very cool. Well, how obscure would it be if we just talked about magnets for the next hour? We're not
not obscure at all, because I mean, all of these magnets have their own story. And I was actually thinking of doing a piece, like right now, I don't know if you've seen it, but I've done this piece, which I would actually love if you would answer the question, if you remember, of course. Okay. But it was this post that people were sending around, what do you think? What did you think of me when you first saw me dance, or first dance with me, or something like that? And a bunch of replies came in, and some people actually remember in detail, where they met me. And so I decided that I would do a thank you, but instead of just writing a comment reply or hitting the like button, I've actually recorded my replies. And for the people who am friends with today, and I have a story with them, I'm like, I'll tell a story about our meeting from my perspective, So there was one thing that I actually wanted to do with all of my magnets, is do like a Magna's Magnet Wall series, and maybe take a couple of magnets and talk about when I went there, what I did, who I hung out with, what was exciting about that place. So there's plenty of stories right here, like right here, even right there.
Man, this is, someday you can just sell these all on eBay for charity. They'll be worth millions.
You think? I'd have to sign my name or something on it, though. I mean, otherwise it's just a magnet, right? I mean, they're still expensive.
When I woke up this morning, I did not think I was going to be talking about magnets. Magna, you're live. We're here on Todo Talk. So this is a kind of internet streaming series that I do, talking to well-known dancers around the world, mainly in the area of partner dancing. We do a couple other things as well, some self-help stuff and a little teeny bit of business stuff here and there, but mostly it's just partner dancing. You're a famous partner dancer. I've known you for several years. I remember meeting you a while back at a really cool event, very special event. Maybe we can get into that a little bit later. But you're really someone that has shaped the industry a bit for a lot of reasons. Both because you've maintained this kind of solo artist status in a world where a lot of people partner up, because you have a unique approach to musicality and dance. You are the absolute king, queen, and everything in between of the carpet dance scene at the congresses, where it all happens. And in general, you're just a really positive force in the industry. Where did Magna begin? Where were you born? Where did you grow up? And maybe how did you first start partner dancing?
Well, I started dancing, well, where was I born? India. I was born in India. I grew up in Canada, Toronto. I started dancing in Toronto. That's where I got my first glimpse of it in person. I had seen the movie Dance with Me, so I always tell this story. I had seen the movie Dance with Me many years prior to before I started dancing. And I remember seeing them dance and thinking, oh my God, this dance looks like so much fun. Right? I want to learn this one day. But then, of course, I finished the movie and then I forgot about it. Then I remember seeing a sign in a bus stop that had salsa lessons. And I was like, oh, salsa, I remember this. Salsa is that dance that they were dancing in this movie. And I, tore that off, went to the lesson. And after about 3 lessons, and we used to dance like very kind of cumbia, step back, kick, that was the basic, right? It was like sweethearts and things like that. It was really pretty simple, actually.
Sombreros.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yeah, kind of. Sombrero was complicated. That was like the advanced move. So that's what I learned. And after about 3 or 4 lessons, I went with the instructor to a local nightclub in Toronto. I can't remember if it was El Rancho or Flamingo, one of the two. They were the most popular ones at the time. Went to one of these clubs and then really fell in love. And, I saw everything I saw on screen in person, like I was living it, all these people dancing around, and I got addicted. I was hooked. And then I was dancing with the instructor, but then when I would try and dance with somebody else, I was having difficulty dancing with them, even though the moves that everyone was doing was pretty much more or less the same. And one of the guys who I often danced with, but didn't follow well, would tell me, I'm doing the same thing that he's doing. It's just you're too used to dancing with him. And then since then, I stopped like just dancing with 1 or 2 people. Then I was all about 1 or 2 songs max, and I'm moving on, next person. And then I had stopped taking classes, and I just went out to all of the parties, like almost every single night. I don't know how I did it with a job and university, and a 1-hour commute, like going into the city and stuff. It was crazy, but that was it. That was my start. And everything else since then has been social dancing. Everything I've learned is come off the dance floor.
That moment where people, first of all, just like taking that little piece of paper off the bus stop, and those little turns we make in our life career history, I friggin' love that. I love the fact that people can make that one little tiny decision that doesn't seem like it has any real repercussions or ramifications, and the rest of your life is set up. It is dictated. And that period of time you're talking about where you started dancing, it really starts like that for a lot of people, right? Like they start dancing, all of a sudden, does day job, family, whatever, they're dancing like 6 nights a week in this alternate universe of partner dancing. Now, you took that trajectory, and
Yeah.
at what point did you realize that you were different within the world of partner dancing? Because, I've taught dance for 20 years myself, right? Like people get better and they develop their own dance personalities, but yours has been very, very distinctive. At what point did you realize that was it a desire? Was it a conscious thing that I want to be different, or did you just kind of end up different?
To be honest, it wasn't a conscious effort to want to be different. It's just, I think I've always been a curious person. I've always been someone who tends to, sorry, I was just trying to share this on my Facebook real quick. I've always been someone who likes to look at something, try and work at it, master it. And once I've mastered it, then I'm like, all right, well, what's next? And I don't always necessarily jump to something new. I like to go back and revisit what I've already known and see how I can tweak it and see what's different out of it. So I did that a lot with salsa dancing. And I think that approach, considering how many people are more comfortable with taking information and then using just that information as is, that hasn't been my approach. And I think that's why I've, I guess, been more creative or started doing things differently and been viewed in the light that I have been viewed in.
So let's see how I want to phrase this. So when you take an inceptional class, right? You take like a class from a person that you look up to, you're still a beginner dancer, and you hear a thou shalt not or thou shalt thing, like thou must always transfer weight in this way, and this is how salsa is, or, you know, you hear these kind of isms about the dance. Did you take those, you know, transfer, step on 3, transfer on 4, did you take them, try them out, and then just kind of adapt them to your own needs, or did you stick with some for a while and then they just sort of changed?
Well, to be honest, again, like I said, I didn't take classes, so I don't have that foundation of even how you're supposed to step. So everything I learned is really more about understanding the mechanics of the body and what makes sense to move. If I want to create a certain type of movement, I'm not going to force my step in on a certain count. If I need to be turned by a different count, that there's no way it accommodates that, you know? Maybe because the structure of the dance says 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, but the actual movement does not. You know, so because I didn't learn it in such a structured way, because I learned it really not by trying to learn the dance, but by trying to follow. My focus when I started, again, after I stopped taking the 3 or 4 classes that I started with, then everything else was about dancing, was about following, was about being in the moment. And so I wasn't trying to do a step. I was just trying to be where I should be, you know, and that affected how I absorb the basic, because it affects how I teach the basic. You know,
Okay, it sounds like a high risk pathway to take, but it's a pathway that, like, how many people have we met over the years who say something similar, who say, well, I don't take many classes, I just go out social dancing. It's not always a recipe for success, right? It's not, and I don't just say that because I used to make my money off of partner dancing. I don't anymore because there's no dancing, but it's not always a recipe for success. Do you know what I mean? Right?
well, so the social dancing and not taking classes is not the recipe. The recipe is the curiosity and the intent. That's the recipe, because that recipe can apply to classes. That recipe can apply to solitary practice. That recipe can apply to practice within a partner, or just on the dance floor, or just in a studio. That recipe applies universally. So people sometimes, again, they extract the wrong information sometimes. So they'll say, oh, I'm not going to, if she learned and she's this good from not taking classes and just going social dancing, then I'm going to do the same. And no, you don't understand. It's every single dance, every second that I'm on the dance floor is a moment I'm learning, and I'm actively present in that moment. I am trying to learn. I'm trying to absorb as much information from that moment and then process it as quickly as I can, analyze it and say, what can I do with it, and try and create with it, and then try it, test it, fail, and then do it again within seconds, all the time. And I've been doing that since I started dancing. So when people say, oh, a social dancing versus classes, no, I have all of my social dancing as a class. I've been in a lesson. Every time I dance, I am taking a lesson. I'm having fun, but I'm taking a lesson. And I always say the classroom is my playground. You know, that's what it is. Like, the classroom is my playground and the playground is my classroom.
You do really embody that too. I remember taking little Zouk lessons. We were at some event, some random bizarre event, right? I forget which one it was. And it was probably back when mullets were popular or something. I remember there was all kinds of stuff that were fun about that event. But I do remember taking those Zouk classes together. And you were so, in a wonderful way, childlike about it. Like, you were really, really open to this new dance. You hadn't done it before. I think you'd kind of heard about it, maybe seen it. I want to get back real quickly to your development there. What are some other things that might have been ingredients that didn't come from you? Was there a lot of music in your household as a kid? Do you come from a big family, small family?
Very small family, no real music in the household. no dance background either. No musical background, no dance background, no fitness background, no active background. Um, it, it's again, it sounds like I sound like I'm repeating myself, but I've approached my entire life with a certain sense of curiosity. From childhood, I was always, oh, why is this? Why is that happening? If someone told me something, I would always have a question. You know, it was to the borderline annoying, and I'm pretty certain I have not lost the annoying quality to this day. But I would always be asking, like, why is this happening? And so I always wanted to have a deeper understanding of things. And then once I was able to do something, including with games, you know, someone would show me a game, like, for example, this is a real tangent, right? But there's this drinking game called Boggle, right? So you go around in a circle and you say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and any number that has a 7 or is a multiple of 7, you say Boggle. And when you say Boggle, it reverses direction. So I was in Singapore and none of us were drinking. We were just hanging out. But I was like, oh, let's play a game. And they're like, Boggle, it's a drinking game. So it becomes really easy if you're just playing, you know, 7, then 14. That's, I mean, we're all adults and we know math, so we can get through that pretty quickly if you're not drinking. So I was like, okay, how about this? So let's take inanimate objects, and you are the owner of one inanimate object. So now let's say, for example, I play for myself and I play for that bottle over there. And then this person plays for themselves and they play for that chair over there. So now you're playing 1, 2, 3, and now you're, you know, like you, and I came up with so many variations because as soon as I felt like something was easy, I was like, okay, how can we spice it up? You know, so I've always been like that since childhood. And that is kind of is what I would say has helped me in salsa. It's not a dance background, it's not a musical background, it's not movement. It is just a pure childlike curiosity and desire to play.
What gave you the kind of like the mental 1,000-yard stare to approach the industry solo?
That's a good question.
The confidence, right? Like what gave you that? Because that requires a certain kind of focus. It isn't just positive thinking. Like you've got to be super dedicated to doing it. Has that been a conscious thing? Is it just how it ended up?
I would say it's the latter. I would say it's more how it ended up, but the confidence that was required to approach it comes from, again, childhood. I've always been a person who just kind of went for whatever I wanted to do. And I've done that at the expense of being part of the cool crew and everything. You know, so when I was a teenager, I was hanging out with all of these people who were like the coolest kids in school. And then but you know, we used to smoke up and miss class and go to parties and things like that. And then I realized that I wanted to go to university and that this environment wasn't going to help me get the right grades to get into university. So I, you know, asked friends what they wanted to do after high school. Those who had no plans and no ambition were cut off, you know, and I went basically from 1 year being part of the group with all the cool kids, you know, that everyone's like, oh, Magna is with the you know, grade 13 kids and stuff like that, to the following year starting school being friends with no one. Not because people weren't friends with me, but because I just chose to like cut everyone off. And then a month later, of course, I had a new group of friends, which were a more productive and more inspiring and motivating group of friends. But yeah, I was willing to go solo at 16, at an age where I think most people are looking for pure acceptance and that kind of community. And especially if you get into the cool crew, right? Why would you leave that, right? That's the best time to be in it. That's what everyone's aspiring to at that age. So yeah, I never really cared for the peer acceptance or the social acceptance. It was, I had my goal. This is what I wanted to do. If the people who are cool don't think that this is cool, well, so be it. I'm still going to go after it. And with salsa, that's how it kind of translated over was, I knew what I wanted to do. I didn't necessarily find someone who I could partner with in that way to pursue the kind of creativity that I wanted. Again, as a female, you know, if you're working with someone who's a strong male, then they kind of want to dictate what's going to happen, you know, choreography, creativity. So I had my own ideas, and I'm like, well, I don't feel like, you know, being ordered around, so I'm just going to do it on my own. And again, yeah, plenty of people who are like, oh, you know, that's not partner dancing, you can't be doing it on your own solo, or what she's doing is not great, but I'm not here for your acceptance, you know. So I'm gonna do something, and I feel like it satisfies my soul. It allows me to be creative. It allows me to exercise my mind and my body. And in addition to that, where I had the opportunity to teach or just to be on stage to perform, to show people what's possible, right? Then I've done something good. And for those who did not accept that, or who judged that, or had something to say about it, I don't care.
Yeah. In those dance forms, were there other dance forms that influenced you even a little? I'm sure there were, right? You saw other things. What were some of those dance forms that gave you little mental pictures of other pathways to take when you're salsa dancing, particularly?
Well, tango, for example, I love the lines in tango. And I have very long legs and a very short torso, almost a non-existent torso. So it's perfect for me to extend, you know, through my legs. I never studied tango specifically. I did take a class once and totally messed up that whole etiquette of tango. I took the class. Actually, they had a class in New York, a 4-week course, I believe. And I had asked the instructor, you know, I'm a beginner tango dancer. I'm a beginner in tango. I don't know anything about tango, but I think I would learn quickly, and you know, I might not know the terminology. So I took a private with the instructor and said, can you please take a private and then place me accordingly? You know, because I don't want to start in the very, very beginner class, because I think I could learn faster, you know, but I'll accept your judgment on it. So I took a private, but the instructor was like, go to advanced. You're probably not going to understand the terms, but you'll be able to follow. So I did the class. That was my first class, right? Did the class. And then from there, they had a practica after. So I said, oh, well, yeah, I'll stick around, right? And I don't know anybody. Zero. No one. I'm hanging out there. Of course, no one's asking me to dance because they've never seen me before, and they all recognize each other. So I was like, okay, well, I'm making eye contact with people, but there's nothing happening. So I just went up and started asking people to dance. And some people gave me a look of, you know, that's not how it works here. Mm-hmm. And for those people, I just moved on to the next. I was like, okay, whatever. Finally, somebody did say yes. And I was dancing with them, and I danced, again, my mentality of salsa, right? Like, let me dance with as many different people as possible, and I don't get used to one thing. So this guy, we danced one song, and then at the end of that song, I was like, okay, thank you. And he was like, oh, is there something wrong? And I was like, no. I mean, you know, we had a dance, right? Thank you. And you know where that's going. And he said, we were supposed to dance 3 songs. And I was like, says who? And then I kind of got a little defensive for a second. He's like, no. There's like a slow one, then a milonga, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I kind of looked at him very skeptically. I said yes, and we danced the remaining 2 songs. But yeah, basically that's what happened, you know? So tango aside, that one class and the practica and this awkward experience aside, tango's got its influences. Basically any movement, to be honest. Like, there's dance forms, hip hop, Zouk has that flowiness to it. But like even sports, you know, like the way people get grounded to do something, or jiu-jitsu or capoeira or whatever, there's a lot of movements, and there's just movement in life, right? That yeah. Everything you can extract ideas and inspiration from.
I love watching you dance for just that reason, because I can see those things. Because one minute it looks like you are like you're this little stick figure with just your feet barely moving, and the next minute it looks like you're on the run from the cops, and you're just like, which way am I? It's you change your skin so often while dancing. Tango's pretty crazy, because that whole 3-song dance, it actually has affected other industries as well. Like Zouk right now is going through a period where they're trying to figure out if they want to adopt that, because it inherently creates maybe better connection over the course of those 3 dances with the partner. You get to know each other, but then it limits the amount of people coming into it. And tango's
Right.
kind of, I don't know, when I think of, if I compare dances to like movie scenes, you know, going into a salsa room is kind of like walking into the New York Stock Exchange, whereas tango's like going into a scene from Illuminati scene from Eyes Wide Shut. It's just all, it's all intense and dark. And
Right.
um, I love it. The industry, um, you know, well, let's talk about the industry just a little bit, you know, because you've been in this salsa industry, this partner dance industry for quite a while. Um, it's a restrictive industry, or it has been to some degree, at least from my outlook at it, because it's not just male dominated, as in the male partner dominates it, but the industry demands often, or acts like it demands this evenness of, you know, the duality of the guy and the girl, etc. And you and rightfully so, you ignored that, you know, and you did your own thing. What are some things inherent to the industry, to the way it functions on a regional level, on a national, international level? What are some things that you feel could change, need to change, are changing? What's your perspective on that?
As far as need for change, there's something that I have slowly come to peace with. Change does not necessarily have to occur outside. I can be the agent of change, right? Meaning, there are a lot of things that I appreciate in the industry, because even my own style, even what I bring to the table is unique because there's a status quo, right? There's a contrast because there's already something established, right? And I think it's fine, because that's a preference as well. There are some people like myself who saw the establishment and were like, cool, that's cool, but I have some other ideas I'd like to add to that. You don't have to change the establishment, but I'm gonna add my ideas, right? And I might have a sub establishment now. And now people have a choice. They have a choice of saying, okay, well, you know, I prefer, I'm a traditionalist. I'm more conservative. I want to stick to the basics, the way it was done in the 60s or the 70s. Your choice, right? But now, because there are some agents of change, it doesn't mean that everything needs to completely change. But because there are some agents of change, it allows people an option. It allows people gives them the opportunity to better connect with something that relates to them. You know, because there are people who are traditionalists, and to them, to each his own, right? I'll dance with them and I'll do super basic, super like things that make sense to them, you know. But then there are people who are really out of the box and they think like I do. And with those people, I'll play and I'll have fun. And I'll go all sorts of crazy, you know. But I do appreciate that there are standards, and that there is a history, and that there's been a progression, and that there's change, but not everything's lost. I like that the things are there. So when you have things like male domination, right? That's fine, because what would I come out against if it wasn't there, right? How could I express my points of view on the nature of the relationship between lead and follow, between man and woman, if it wasn't already established to be a certain way, right?
So you bounce off of contrast.
Exactly, yeah. Okay. And I am a huge proponent of contrast, because it's the truest way to appreciate even what it is that you appreciate.
Yeah.
And to really solidify whether you truly appreciate it or not, whether you truly believe that or like that or not. Because if it's the only option, well, what else is there, right? You got chocolate cake. Every time you go for cake somewhere, it's chocolate cake, chocolate cake. Well, yeah. Do you like cake? Yeah, I like chocolate cake. You like chocolate cake? Yeah. Well, that's the only kind of cake that's out there. But now all of a sudden you got vanilla cake, right? Now you have a chance. Do you like chocolate cake? Yeah, I do, because I tried vanilla cake and I don't like vanilla cake. I really like chocolate cake.
Yeah.
Or it gives you the chance to change your mind and say, oh, I've always liked chocolate cake. And someone's like, have you tried vanilla? you're either don't ever try it and say, no, 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 chocolate cake's my thing, or you try it and you're like, oh, wow, you know, vanilla's great. Or you have that duality and you can say, oh, you know what? Sometimes I'm in the mood for chocolate cake and sometimes I'm in the mood for vanilla cake, right? But
Yeah.
you need the contrast, right? You need contrast in life. You need things that are juxtaposed against whatever it is that you believe or follow to test yourself, to test what you truly believe in.
Well, what do you think is what are some ethical, moral, code of conduct based contrasts that you're seeing in the industry right now?
Like in what sense?
Well, for instance, congresses, right? You take like events. I remember being at congresses where and this is just one of them. I don't want to hyper focus on because this is such a classic and easy one to pinpoint. But like end of the night, you got 100 dudes trying to get laid, and there's there's a certain amount of after parties, and there's a certain amount of instructors taking advantage of whatever reaping the spoils of war in those environments. These are kind of like archaic looks. This is stereotypical. It's not all like that. Most of these congresses are wonderful. Lots of them are well run, good ethics, but there isn't like a standard code of conduct, for instance, at a Congress. And these days, there's been a lot of change, whether it's with the Me Too movement, whether it's with just changes in what how power dynamics affect us in the workplace. And so then people start shining that new knowledge on other aspects of their life. I've found, being in the dance world, that over the last several years, there have been shifts in the industry in terms of thinking. And do you feel that changes are what change? I'm going to base it off of your answer prior, right? So you like those contrasts. What are the contrasts going on that you see in the industry right now to do with ethics and codes of conduct?
Well, I haven't seen anything specifically laid out. I think what I've been exposed to or experienced is more things that have gotten into the public eye and then someone kind of being reprimanded for that and scolded for their behavior, and that could be on minor levels and on major levels. You can't remove those dynamics by setting a code. You can set a code of conduct, which I think is present everywhere anyways, but you can't really remove the people, right? Like the people are part of that community. You can set codes for that community, but you can't change the personalities that come in. And those personalities, if they want to break the rules, they're going to break whatever rules you have. If you didn't have rules, they would be doing those same things. If you had 10 rules, they're going to try and break all 10. If you have 100 rules, they're going to try and break all of those too, right? There are people who are there with the wrong intentions or right intentions, right? Who am I to judge whether someone goes somewhere to a salsa event to meet somebody?
Yeah.
Right? I've done that going to a regular club, right? What's the difference, right? So it's not even my place to judge. Of course, there are things like, date rape, drugs, and things like that. That's messed up, and you should get punched in the face for that. But if you're just going out to an event and you have a different intention than just learning, and you want to meet somebody, and you're trying to meet someone, and you somehow hit it off with somebody, and that person likes you, likes the communication, and then that's what ends up happening. That happens in life too. That happens at work conferences. That happens people meeting in grocery stores, right? I don't think that that's such a terrible thing. I think it's more the matter of how things are pursued when someone's not interested, But at the same time, I also believe that we're adults and we have choices that we can make. And if we're interested in, going out to a Congress and every weekend hooking up with somebody differently, or every night of a Congress hooking up with someone differently, that's your choice. That's your prerogative, Yeah. Not here to judge you.
Yeah.
Just as long as you do it in terms of ethics, don't force somebody. If they say no, let it go. Don't try and get them drunk to their point that their inhibitions are all gone so that you can take advantage. Those kind of things, I'm against that. But if you just want to go out and live your life in a very frivolous or promiscuous way, it's your choice.
I agree. And I also see, I'm often asked by by dancers in our scene and other scenes, like what creates success, or what's going to create basically more people coming into the scene. And I feel like there's such a need for new blood, for people to come into the scene, to expand the industry.
Right.
Some industries do expand exponentially during particular points in history, and some really kind of plateau. And I feel like exploring that one is one way to get new people into the industry, because it's kind of got a built-in catch-22. You've got people coming into the industry, going to partner dancing because they're lonely or they want to meet someone. There's certainly, and there's, like you say, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But if there's too much of that kind of freewheeling feeling within organized events, there's a point where they can't bring in new people, because you kind of you brought in all the people from the particular demographic, but then the more conservative people, the people who are married, or the people who just purely want to study, that's a hindrance and an annoyance. And so I find sometimes it stops the industry a little bit. This is speaking from someone who lives in Seattle, right? This is a very, like, we sort of approach that whole thing as whatever at your Google job is appropriate, that's going to be appropriate at your salsa dance class as well, or even your salsa social.
Right.
But
I'd like to, again, going back to the adult factor, right? I don't think enough people take responsibility for themselves. I think too many people are way more comfortable saying, oh, the scene is like this, so I don't want to go. Well, what's stopping you from going out and learning? What's stopping you from going out and having that dance? And then when that person says, hey, can I get your number? You say, no, thank you. And you move on to your next partner and you have another dance. What's stopping you? Right? Like, you can still get what you want out of the community, right? Just like those same people are getting their dates by learning all the moves, right? Yeah. So I just feel like too many people put way too much importance on the kind of external factor, when they, again, could be agents of change themselves. They could go to, like, for example, in New York, right? There was, sorry, I don't know how to help with that. Speaking of Google, listening to everything, not talking to you, woman. But let's say New York, for example. It's when I first moved out here, it was very cliquey, right? Now I could have said, oh, you know what? The scene is so cliquey, I don't want to go out. Right? But there's still other people there to dance with. Maybe it's hard to approach them because they're surrounded by their own crew or whatever, but it doesn't mean that I can't get my dances. It doesn't mean that I can't still have a fun night. It might be a challenge. There might be some obstacles, but I can still have my night, And now when I go out, yeah, there might still be cliques. I'm friends with everybody. I'll go and talk to this person who doesn't really like that person, and I'll go dance over here, and I'm bouncing all over the place. I don't have my corner with my crew, for example, because I refuse to fall in line with that, right? So I wish people would take a little bit more responsibility for themselves and deciding how they want to approach the situation. Situation is what it is. You want to call it that, fine. But I'm sure there's somebody else in that situation who's not viewing it through the same lens as you are. Yeah. Right? Like for me, I don't see New York as cliquey. Why? Because I talk to everybody, right? Whereas somebody else is like, oh yeah, but over there, there's like, oh, I'm like, oh, those people? Oh yeah, I'll go and talk to them. They're like, you can go over there and talk to, Yeah. So I really think that people sometimes need to decide. And I think that's the other problem. That's the underlying problem, is why are you there? Right? Forget what other people are there, but why are you there? Have you spent the time to ask yourself truly, why are you there? If you have answered that, then figure out the steps on how you can pursue your passion and pursue your goals, and then push out the rest, right? We can do it. I've done it. Everyone does it when it's something that they really want, but I think it's the problem with figuring out what it is you really want and taking the time to ask those questions and answer those questions.
That's a really smart thing, because honestly, if you're going to start a business and you go to a life coach or a consultant, they're going to have you do that first. And the partner dance world is a wonderful microcosm there, because it's so fluid, it's so volatile. If you take 5, 10 people that are of like mind, and if they all decide as a group, we're going to make salsa more popular this year, it's very doable in a regional way. It actually has a huge effect. If you get people who make those decisions, and they can change a scene for the better, or they can increase popularity of a dance form. It's very malleable from within, which is one of the wonderful things about it's so different than, say,
Right.
the competitive ballroom world or something like that. You can change those worlds from within, I'm sure, too, but our industry, this takes a few people, and things change. You did some TED Talks a little while back.
Yes, I did a TED Talk on the benefits of rejection.
The benefits of rejection. 2-minute synopsis?
2-minute synopsis would be, on the receiving end, always learn from it. Don't give up. Don't take it personally. On the giving end, be honest. Understand that your no is sometimes a way to, a sign of respect, not an insult. And for the person receiving that no, would you rather, I believe I said it in my talk, would you rather hear a 5-second no, or spend hours or longer in the presence of a dishonest yes?
I like it. I can quickly extrapolate that to being rejected on the dance floor, whatever. I love it. Really, really, really cool. Tell me, when I was scrolling through your social dance videos, now I have a couple favorites myself. At least I used to, because I used to show your videos to students. And I'd be like, this is like a really cool example of musicality. And I've just been out of that video sharing arena for the last 4 years or so. So I noticed today particularly, there was a whole bunch of new stuff. And particularly I noticed some new dance, some new carpet, these carpet dances, these magical, you have the Congress, and you got the dance floor, and then there's the carpet surrounding the dance floor. Often that's where it goes down. I saw a bunch of these dances with you and Terry.
Uh-huh.
Tell me about, what's Terry like to dance with? And I'm particularly juxtaposing this with the fact that he can't be in the States right now. He had an issue with visa or whatever, something happened, and he is one of the male dancers, or just one of the dancers in the scene, that came along, and like yourself, he just whoosh, he changed things, because he just kind of did things his own way. What's it like to dance with Terry? Yeah.
Worst experience ever. I hate dancing with that guy.
I thought you'd say that. I thought you'd say that.
No, I love dancing with Terry. I also feel like our dances have evolved just like our friendship has evolved. Like when we first met, there was a lot of curiosity on both sides, like what does this person dance like? And I have an old video. I got to find that and post that from I think one of the very, very first times that we met. Then as he started, working more, traveling more, and, developing his own style and everything, then when we would meet, sometimes we would clash. Sometimes we would totally have the same idea, and sometimes we would be like, nope, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Nope, I don't care. It just butt heads.
And this is wild dancing.
This is wild dancing, in the feel. Of course, we're not actually verbally saying that, but you can feel that in the connection in our hands or in our bodies. And I think we've been able to get there because our friendship has evolved. You don't tend to waste your time investing in a disagreement with a random person. You're like, I don't know you, I don't care about you, I don't care what you think. Yeah. Keep on telling me, how wrong or how green the sky is, right? Sure, it's green, just so you can finish it. But when you're friends with someone, you don't mind saying, I don't know. I think it's pretty blue. You're like, nah, it's green. I'm like, no, it's blue, right? So you can have those conversations. And so even when we don't connect, we connect. Even our lack of connection is a result of a stronger underlying connection, which I really appreciate. And when we really do have a good bond, and oftentimes that's actually the case. We have like a really good connection. It's a joy to dance with him, because I'm curious how he's going to interpret the music, and he knows music. He knows percussion very, very well. Like I kind of follow a lot of melodies and other things, but he knows these like details in percussion that sometimes I don't hear, you know, and I enjoy dancing with him, letting him interpret and trying to pick up in the microsecond after he's interpreted and do the same thing, you know, like do something that would hit the music that he just heard. If I can catch the end of the beat, you know, like he knows it's coming, so he'll hit that beat. But let's say a beat is BEAT, so we have 4 steps to hit that beat, and
Right.
he hits the B. I'm trying to pick up on whatever he heard so I can hit it before the T, you know?
This is for me. I mean, I could talk for hours just about just this one thing, because I'm a musician, right? So I love that, and I spent years as a musician sitting in front of a metronome, trying to feel the difference between ahead of the beat, on the beat, and a lazy side to it. So are you taking the super high reggae guitar player approach where you're just barely getting to it, but it's dope. Like it's really, really, you're hitting your, even just your 2s and 6s. You're like, that's wrong, that's late. And you're like, no, it's on it. It's just cutting the very end, the very
Right.
little, right? So that really does define dancers at your level in ways that often I think people who are newer to dancing don't realize, because they think of, well, you're on rhythm or you're not. But these little minute nuances, and when you're talking like with a guy like Terry and you're dealing with very fast reactions, incredibly fast reactions, because yeah, you both have years of knowledge that will point you towards where the song's going to go. You understand, your brain and body understand the structure of a salsa song, where the breaks are going to happen. But then you might be listening to a version of that song where the percussionist had a particularly bad fight with his wife that night, and he's just hitting it a little extra hard, and you have to adapt to it. These are milliseconds.
Right.
How did you develop, and how do you feel you and Terry, or just you, answer for Terry too, he's not here, developed, and what goes into developing that quick martial arts level reaction to a sound?
It starts with an active ear, meaning that there are a lot of people who, when they listen to music, listen to it very passively. The big breaks, of course, you hear that. You know, you hear when someone's like bellowing out on the microphone, or you hear that one long trumpet, you know, blaring, or you hear the da 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 boom. You know, that's obvious. Those are obvious breaks that most people, even the passive listener, will be like, "Hey, what was that?" I would attribute my own musical interpretation, and possibly, you know, to speak for Terry to a degree, is to an active ear. So you're not just going through the motions. You're never going just through your, okay, this is the tempo of the basic. That's good enough for me. For me, it's always like, what does this start? Oh, have I heard this before? How does that feel? If I was telling a story with this instrument, where would I go with it? You know? And that active ear allows you to not just pick up on what's happening, but also sometimes successfully extrapolate where it's going to go. But it requires an active ear. It requires you to not start a song on a 1, 2, 3. It requires you to start a song on a, all right, what am I feeling here? You know, and that's really the only way. And then, of course, as you likened it to martial arts, there's that notion of, you know, the more you practice something, the more it becomes second nature to you. You know, it's not about how hard you hit. I don't remember who, I'm going to screw this one up royally, but I don't know. It's not about like someone who, huh?
Are you about to quote Sylvester Stallone?
No, hell no. Bruce Lee. Not about the person who knows 1,000 punches, but about the person who's practiced one punch 1,000 times, right? That's the master of that. The person who knows 1,000 punches might not be the master of anything, other than just knowing a bunch of things that he probably doesn't do well. And there are a lot of people out there in the dance community and in life in general like that, right? But for me, so whenever I get on the dance floor, if I'm actively listening to the music, I'm every time I'm practicing the same skill, the same technique, that same punch over and over, right? And that's what allows me to be as good at executing it whenever I need to.
And in this case, that proverbial punch is that ear training. It's
Yes, an active ear, yeah.
yeah.
Which is when I give my musicality classes, that's what I talk about a lot. I talk about like a whole my 2-hour seminar is all about like picking up the music, how to pay attention, what to listen to, how to find patterns and stuff like that. Because I'm not coming from a musician's background. I'm coming from straight dance. Like how do my body want to relate to that music, you know, not by the actual structure by which it was composed.
Yeah. It's a factor in lots of things, including like basketball. I remember listening to someone talk about, I think it was Michael Jordan talking about time slowing down, feeling like you're moving slower than everybody else. That's just the same thing as you're just picking up more little beats within the beats within the beats. And certainly Terry and you were really good at picking up, getting those little signals. You know, here's the sell signal, gotta go. You know, here's the buy signal, take it. You know, just these things that are that happen really fast. To the average person, that seems magical. Seems like it's not possible if you've never danced, but it's actually quite doable. You just gotta do it, like you're saying. Just practice that muscle.
And it's in dance in general. It's about getting. It's really about training your senses and your reaction. That's what it is. You know, there's a lot of focus on training steps. Everyone is thinking about, okay, this is how you step and this is how you execute a certain move. But really, it's not. It's about when you feel that lead, how you move to that lead. That's what it is. That's lead and follow. Like we have the structure of the basic of 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, but that's not how we lead and follow. We lead and follow just by the action reaction type of movement, you know? And actually speaking of Terry, there was a song I remember he and I danced to in Istanbul, and he knew the song, like actually knew the song. And there's a break in the song where he starts doing some stuff, and I'm like, based on the way he's hitting things, I'm like, there's no way you guess that. You just couldn't have guessed that much of it. Like, you know the song. And I say it in the dance. I'm like, you know the song. He's like, like, and he smiles and he like looks like this. I'm like, and I was like, cool, I'll follow you. And the rest of the song, that section, it's all shines. And I'm watching him react and then reacting on his reaction, which is not even physical contact with me. You know, I can't even play off of his body. It's like literally just watching and ignoring the music and imagining that I have a chance to interpret the music based on exactly what I'm hearing right now, you know, what I'm seeing. So that whole reaction thing and what you were saying about Michael Jordan, about how time slows down, that's what it feels like in the dance. Like, you know, every second of the dance, if I had to outline the things that I think about, and it's more than this, but for example, let's say my partner smiling, you know, how are they breathing? What do their hands feel like? Are they tense? Did they just increase the tension, or did they just decrease the tension from before? What might they be doing based on this hand position? Could this go to the right or to the left? Is it more to the right or more to the left? If it's more to the right, what could then come after that? Who's around me? Who's next to me? Are they about to do a move that's going to come here? What about that person over there? What about the person behind my partner? Where is my weight? Where's my partner's weight? And then this is all just the facts. Then there is, what could I do with all of this information? What could I create that wasn't being given to me, right? In that split second. So, okay, this is the amount of momentum I'm receiving. How could I add to that momentum and then do something myself? And then where would I end up? And would that affect my partner? How can I make sure that he's in line now, you know, because I'm going to pull him out of the slot. How do I put him back in the slot? And not, you know, bounce into anybody else. And on top of that, what's happening in the music? How could I do all of the things that I'm observing and what I want to create and still match the music, right?
These are the quantum physics of it, aren't they?
Yeah, and all of that is constant, nonstop processing, and it sounds like it's tiring, but it's actually energizing. You know, for me, and again, to each his own. Some people, you know, do a workout and they're beat and they're like, okay, I'm done. I exercised, I worked up a sweat, I got my heart rate up, I'm ready to sleep. For me, when I start working out, the more I work out, the more I want to work out. Mm. The more energy I get from that. So in those situations where I'm thinking and I'm analyzing and processing this information and throwing something in there and seeing how things react, like that just gets me more hyper, more sensitive, more aware.
Yeah. I love hearing you talk about it. I get excited. That's the stuff that's so amazing about partner dancing. I think it's the addictive quality in terms of from a life perspective that it really encompasses you of partner dancing. It's very similar to surfing, because people who take up surfing, it really does become their whole life. It's a thing that they carry into every aspect of their life, but yet you're just standing on a board. But really, it's very, very similar to what you're describing, that you're dealing with all these factors that you're not in control of, and you're deciding what you are, how you're going to manipulate those and play with them. I know this because I have surfed 0 times. So
that's like it's a very stoic philosophy.
Yeah, and when here's a question for you to do with that now. For the mere mortal out there, the average person, right, who wants to play with that kind of musicality, who wants to play off of those realities, often they run into the reality that they only have so many things in their toolbox to do. They hear it, right? You take the average person, you're like, listen to this song, find the wave pattern, find, where the hits are. And even if they've never danced, they can be like, well, yeah, most people can kind of see it. But then when you want to take that and you want to make it, you want to physically manifest it, what are some body parts that you can use that are accessible to the average person? If you're teaching a class and the person's like, yeah, I hear the music, but I don't have all those cool things that you and Terry are doing or whatever to use. We talked about finger salsa earlier. Like, what's the simplest way to show musicality during a salsa dance that maybe wouldn't get in the way of your partner?
You start with your ears. If you can move exactly, you can. I can too, I think. I move them. I don't know if I move. Nope, I can't. Okay, I'll start with my nostrils then. No, I'm joking. I think there is a huge emphasis on you need to know so much to be able to interpret music. That's the first misconception. And that is the first failure on behalf of teachers, actually, right? Because a lot of times you go to a class and it's an hour long or an hour and a half long, and oh my God, you have like 30 counts of 8 that you just went through, right? Do you know any of those counts of 8 other than the basic? Probably don't even know your basic, actually. If all you're doing is learning 30 different counts of 8 every single time you go to a class, right? So that's the first problem, is this idea that musicality and interpretation to the music requires a huge arsenal of moves. It does not. I actually taught my online classes that I've been doing as a result of this quarantine, which I'll be doing another one on Sunday, this coming Sunday. It was an empowered footwork, is what I've called it. And we didn't go through tons and tons of shines. We went through something basic, changed the timing of it, changed the direction of it, changed the foot with which you start, and all of a sudden you have tons of things to work with. And one of my students actually, I think I posted a picture of the class, of the Zoom class, and he wasn't there. He's like, I wasn't there, but I can prove I was there. And I was like, oh yeah, okay. I thought maybe he took a screenshot, but he recorded a video of himself to the song, doing exactly what I taught, but breaking it up as it fits the music. So he didn't try and learn another shine. It was the same footwork, a very simple footwork that was adapted either in direction or in pause or in speed to the music, and I was just like, that's brilliant. That's exactly what I want. And that's what I always encourage people is you don't need a huge arsenal. You need the right mindset. That's where it starts. You can take something simple, and I believe everyone has enough to play with the music. They just don't think it's enough because when they see other people doing it, they're like, oh no, I don't have all of that. You don't need all of that.
Okay, so let me challenge you with that then. So I'm standing in front of you. I open the door. I'm like, crossbody lead time. You're going to go from point A to point B. What are 5 options that a follow, or whoever's going across? What are 5 easy ways that they could change that still accomplish the desired crossbody lead CBL?
Well, it depends really on, again, so I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. I remember somebody hiring me for a private and then showed me a video of a move that I did and said, I want to learn that move. Right? And I said, I can't teach you that move. They're like, why not? You know, like you did it, you do that all the time. And I'm like, yes, but that move is not a move. It's not independent. It is 100% dependent on my partner. So I don't like teaching people things that they force into an equation that it wasn't requested or that there wasn't space for it. You know, and I don't like people to get into that mentality either, because that's just as bad as like random arm styling. You know, you just forcefully throw that in there when it has no place in the music or in the dance, right? And it affects your lead. Why? Because you were told this is one thing you can do when you do a crossbody lead with a turn and you can extend your arm. So I'm not a big proponent of that, of sharing that. What I prefer is that people try to understand the connection with their partner first, you know, because I do everything I do based on what I have the room to do. And that understanding comes from really paying attention to my partner, to understanding where their weight is, what kind of tension they're giving me, how they're breathing. Are they breathing with a big inhale, like they're about to do something? Because if they are, then I better be exactly where I need to be. But if they're just chilling, if their like shoulders are relaxed, then yeah, that gives me a little bit of space to play around because they're not prepping for anything. So I don't want anyone to be like, all right, I'm going to do this in a crossbody. Here are 5 things I can do in a crossbody lead. Like I would not be the person to say that. I would say for everyone who's out there, leader or follower, if you really want to get musical, if you really want to play around, try to understand your partner. It's a conversation. You know, you can't sit there and say, all right, well, how many different ways can I start a sentence? Or how many different things can I talk about? Oh, well, there's an ugly cat outside. Eggs are delicious. I like chocolate cake. That's really random. Who the hell are you going to say that to, right? You need to listen to your partner. And that goes in 2 different directions, not just from the follow, but also the lead. If your partner starts talking about pets, yeah, there you go. All right, here's an option for say, oh, well, there's also a cat outside. You're going to talk about eggs? Absolutely not. You would be really random for talking about eggs. You know, right. You can find a way to redirect the conversation. You could say, hey, I wonder if cats eat eggs. They're like, oh, I never thought about that. I personally, I love eggs. Boom, right? You need to, but you can't do that in life. You can't do that in a conversation, just randomly throwing whatever idea you have or whatever you learned into a conversation. No, you must listen first and see what you know that applies. And if not, find out how to redirect it. And that's the exact same thing that I do in dance, is I'm listening, thinking if I have an idea that I want to insert, there's something I really wanted to do, it's still listening 90% of the time, you know, and then maybe a peep. And then I realized, oh no, I don't have the chance. All right, okay, let me quiet that down. Let me see where else I can insert that, you know? And that's the skill. That's the real skill.
I like your philosophy, and it's an all-encompassing philosophy, certainly. And you can see the results in your dancing. I know, I remember one dance that you and I had to a song called Lamento Boliviano, to a bachata.
Oh, I like that song.
It's a good song. And I remember feeling like, anytime I created a space, you just sort of, kind of like Bruce Lee, the water thing, you know, you just filled in that space. And it manifests as an amazing follow, but it's really active. It really does mold to those different things. I love that you're pointing out breath too, because I think that's probably, if people want to slow time down, I think that's probably the easiest way to do things within the things within the things is to focus on that breath. In terms of your personal health, you mentioned working out. You mentioned eggs too, but I've nothing to ask you about eggs. So I want to ask you about working out. In terms of your personal regimen, maybe particularly now during the COVID-19 time, what are some of your personal regimens at home for physical and mental / spiritual health?
Well, exercise is important to me. Exercise has always been important to me. A friend of mine asked me this, actually. She said, you know, when did this become a passion of yours, or how, or why, or was this recent or after dance? And I said, exercise is not, I mean, partially it's making sure I fit into my clothes, because I don't have any interest in buying bigger sizes or more clothes. I have plenty. So that's one. But the other aspect of it is that there are a lot of things I want to do. Again, it all comes down to the same stuff. What do you want in life? You know, what do you want in life? What do you want out of life? What do you want to do in this world while you're here? For me, I want to play. I want to climb things. I want to be able to run and chase something. I want to play sports with the kids that are half my age, you know, because they're the only ones doing the sports stuff. The people my age are, I lost you. Uh-oh. The people my age are, you know, busy with work or with family or all of that stuff. So I don't want to limit myself. And the whole purpose of working out is to make sure that my body is in good enough shape that it can go and play and do all the things that I want it to do. So if I want to travel, I want to make sure that I can climb. If I want to go to Africa, for example, and climb the mountains, I want to make sure that I'm not stuck just doing restaurants and eating foods, but I can actually do all the hiking stuff as well. I completely lost Vasily. 1 second, folks. I don't know where he went. I wish there was a way to pause live. That would be pretty cool. And I can't even see the chats. Let's see. Do I have any? I can't even see chats. Go figure. So I don't even know if anyone is asking anything right now. StreamYard, definitely one of those things that's much better. All right, folks, I am going to, I think, end this live because I have lost my host. I might end up back here in a second. Let's see if he comes back. If not, thank you, Salsa con Todo, for this awesome interview. It was a lot of fun. Thank you for all of you who had tuned in and are listening. A couple of announcements. This Sunday coming up on May 10th, I'll be doing a live online salsa class. You have to register from my website, magnagopal.com/online courses. Oh, boom, he's back. What happened?
You know, the computer just, our brand new laptop just did something crazy. I hope you held down the fort.
I did. I started ad-libbing. I was just about to exit. Thanks like, all right, thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for saving my ass. Well, we were just about to wrap up, too. I love all this stuff that you've said.
Fitness. We didn't even finish that.
So yeah, let's finish that last segment to do with like workout health. You're figuring out what you want.
Right. So going back to this, and for everyone who was like, wait, what? She looks so lost in her thought, because I was like, what am I doing? And I'm trying to talk and answer your question while I'm trying to figure out where the hell you disappeared to. But yeah, fitness for me is, again, going back to understanding what you want in life and what you want to do. And if you don't want to do a lot, like if you're fine with going to bars and hanging out and having a drink and meeting friends to eat, then fine, take a walk around the block, you know, just be active in the simplest ways. For me personally, I like the idea of being active in very extreme ways. If I'm traveling and there's an option to do some crazy 6-hour hike, I want to do it. You know, if I have to cross across some river and climb over stuff, I want to do that too. If someone's like, oh, try this sport, I want to try that too. I have a lot of friends who are, you know, much younger than me, and they're actually get together and they play sports in the park, versus people my age who have kids and families and all that kind of stuff don't have the time necessarily. And I want to be able to go and play all of those sports as well. So I train my body to be able to go and do the things I want it to do. You know, the benefit of it is that I end up being healthy and I'm fit and I'm in good shape. But that's not my intention, you know, with working out. My intention is to provide the safest platform for the child in me. You know, so I'm making sure that the entire room is cushioned, my muscles are ready to move the way that child wants to move, so that, you know, my spirit is fulfilled. And that's the way I've approached fitness. And then through this whole quarantine, I think when we first had that last talk, I don't even know when that was, in March, right?
Yep, March.
Yeah. And I don't know if I said that I was doing a quarantine fitness thing for a couple of weeks. Well, day 50 was today.
Wow.
I've done it every single day, 10 a.m., going live on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. And I've come up with some crazy workouts, like insane things that are challenging me, you know, just to get people moving and keep it interesting, you know?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. And what about, do you meditate at all?
I don't meditate per se, but I'm quite good, and I've gotten very good at this over the years. And maybe it's just the fact that I've had to deal with a lot of things in my life, hardships on my own. And it's also kind of my preference before I open up to anybody. I kind of want to make sure I've got a handle on things. It's not maybe the healthiest way to approach things, but it's my way of approaching things. And because I've approached things like that, I've gotten very good at taking a breath. You know, whatever is bugging me or anything, I'm good at like taking a breath and calming everything down and letting go of the things that I can't control, and then getting a grasp of what I can. And I don't do it on a daily basis. You know, I don't have like a set time, but I feel quite at peace with myself. So somewhere in my day-to-day, obviously I'm finding that moment for myself.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome, Magna. I guess in closing, because we're running out of time. I had a couple last minute questions. One, how awesome is it? Well, I'm assuming it's awesome. What's it like dancing in India? Because you were born there. There's lots of amazing dancers from India, you know, but this thing started as a Latin thing, and you have such an effect on the industry. Yeah, what's it like dancing in India? How are you received?
It's amazing to go back to India whenever I do go there for events. I'm received very well from everyone there, mainly because I guess there are not a lot of international salsa artists, Indian salsa artists, like Super Mario is one of them, but not that many. And there's a pride, you know, it's like seeing someone from another city or something that you grew up in. You're like, yeah, that's Canadian. Like anytime I see Canadians, right? Doesn't matter where they're from. I'm like, yeah, Canada in the house, right? I don't know who the hell they are, but I'm proud because I'm proud of Canada. And so I feel like when I show up, they're like, yeah, she is Indian. So there's that approach. There's that welcoming nature of Indian dancers. But in addition to that, they're just a lot of fun. They might not be at the level of like New York, for example, but the level of fun sometimes surpasses many of the other places that I've been to. Just because I don't know, there's a maybe it's Bollywood culture. I don't know what the culture is, you know, that influences them to just be joyous and have fun. So it's always a good time over there. But then again, I have a good time no matter where I go. So again, agent of change, right? I'm like, I don't like the situation, I'm going to change it. That's my approach. I think, was it Bruce Lee who said that? Somebody said something about circumstances, and he was like, hell, I make circumstances. And I like that approach.
I think that was Mark Cuban. No, I don't think it was Mark Cuban.
Well, Mark Cuban
I love everything you said, Magna. It's been an absolute joy to do this interview, and I really appreciate you doing it with us. What have you got going on in the next week or 2 weeks, or things that people can sign up for in terms of group classes, private lessons, etc.?
Yeah, I was just doing that before you came back online, so I'll just continue with that. This Sunday, May 10th at 1 p.m. Eastern time, so New York time, I'll be doing a live online class, Empowered Movement. So we'll be doing body movement in the same way that I've broken down other things, where we're focusing on not learning 500 things in that 1 hour, but learning things that you can actually play with and start to create with. It's a free class. Donations are encouraged and very, very much appreciated. For the rest of this week, 100%, I will be doing my quarantine fitness, which is at 10 a.m. New York time. And if you really want a challenge and you want to die, okay, for a little bit, for an hour of your day, you're welcome to join me and die with me. In addition to that, online courses are also available on my online platform. So there's some spin stuff on there. And if you're interested in private lessons, of course, magnagopal.com is your be-all resource for everything that you need in terms of contacting me, finding online classes, or the live class that's coming up this Sunday.
Really, really cool.
And the YouTube channel, of course, which is where I put a lot of my empowered videos. So topics similar to this that we've been discussing today, those kind of things will end up going up on my YouTube channel. So you can find all of that stuff there as well.
Really cool. Magna, you're fantastic. You've said it all. We love you. We hope you are successful, and I know you're successful. I know you're happy, and we wish you an amazing day, amazing week, and hopefully we'll get a chance to see you on the social dance floor soon.
Thank you so much, Vasily. Thank you, Salsa con Todo, for the interview, for setting all of this up. Thank you for the excellent set of questions. I think, the questions are so important. So thank you for an excellent set of questions. And I can't believe that we've been doing it for almost an hour and a half. I was actually thinking, I was like, oh, we'll probably be like 30 minutes maybe. But yeah, that's a problem with someone who can talk and who has a lot of thoughts and opinions. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Magna.
Have a fantastic day. Have a fantastic everyone who tuned in. Also, if you do have questions similar to Vasily's that you would like me to answer, now that the live is going to be about to end, you can always send me a message either through my website or any of my social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, whatever. And I can address them in an empowered video that's like specifically on that topic. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
Peace and love and prosperity.
Peace and love. Ciao, ciao. How do I end this?